right, everybody keeps focused on, of course, the shenanigans of Donald Trump, but what about those fake electors that he was supporting? Well, as Wisconsin, the Attorney General there, Josh Kaul, filed felony forgery charges against two attorneys and an aide who helped submit paperwork falsely saying that Donald Trump had won the battleground state in 2020. Kenneth Chesebro, Jim Troupis, and former Trump aide Mike Roland allegedly delivered Wisconsin's fake electoral paperwork to a Pennsylvania congressman staffer to get them to then Vice President Mike Pence on January 6, 2021. All three are due in Dane County Circuit Court on September 19th. Chesebro pled guilty in October to one count of conspiracy to commit filing false documents in the Georgia case. See, Joy, the thing that I think people need to remember is that these people had a very clear and concise and orchestrated plan to steal this election. You had people like Wisconsin Senator Ron Johnson was involved. You see this here. They were talking about the Pennsylvania congressman. I think his name is escaping me. And so what you had these individuals, I mean, they were absolutely going to try to steal this election. That was their goal. And Chesebro, he's already, of course, indicted. He pled guilty in Georgia. Now he's facing this in Wisconsin. All of these idiots are going to realize that they've screwed their lives up for sucking up to Donald Trump.
I mean, that's almost why I believe there has to be some cult moment here, because there's no reason why a sane person would trade in their livelihood, their freedom in some of these cases, their bar license, their self-respect for someone who, you know, maybe they've never even met, certainly someone who doesn't even care for them, and, you know, certainly someone that wouldn't even pay for their legal fees. There could be something mental happening with these people, or there are just some bad people out there. And I think our greatest challenge is that sometimes we don't believe that there are folks out there like this who don't want to play fair, who will simply take the election, who just simply take it. And they are the same people who will do so again. And that is why it's so critical. If any critique, I would say, of the Justice Department is that I wish they had been more aggressive even sooner. I'm thankful for what has been done by federal and state prosecutors, but I wish that we could have been faster and even more aggressive so that we could have a true deterrent effect for people going forward. Donald Trump will get you incarcerated, will have you lose everything that you have amassed, because we have to get their family members to put pressure on them as well, to not engage in schemes that not only defraud the American people and try to undermine our Constitution, but also might land them in legal hot water and in some cases jail. We have got to create that deterrent effect. I think we're doing it now, but I think we could have been even stronger about it.
Well, I think Joy makes a great point here, Mustafa. And unfortunately, you know, look, I think that if Biden had chosen Doug Jones versus Merrick Garland, you would be a lot more aggressive on the federal level. But these are state investigations. We're seeing this is Wisconsin. Obviously, what's happening in Georgia. You also have a state attorney general in Arizona that's being very aggressive as well. And this, again, for all the people out there who keep ignoring the reality of these elections, if you don't have Letitia James as Attorney General in New York State, if you don't have this Attorney General in Wisconsin, if you don't, and the Attorney General in Arizona was barely elected, you don't have these actions. That's why those races matter too.
Yeah. Well, first of all, snaps to everything that Joy just laid down, because I agree with the commentary was shared. The other part is you got to vote. You know, everybody keeps talking about Biden and Trump, and yes, that's an important focus of an election, but it is about what's happening in your state and on your county level and on the local level. So if you want to have these individuals who are willing to stand up for justice inside of your respective states, then you got to vote for them. They need your help. I mean, you do your own analysis. You say, is this the type of person who believes in the things that I believe in? And I know that they will also follow the letter of the law. Why do we need people who follow the letter of the law? Well, currently we're living in a country where Trump has poisoned all of our systems, to be quite honest with you, our judicial system, a number of the other systems that we have. So we've got to have checks and balances. The states is one of the places that you can have those checks and balances, but you got to get engaged and you got to vote. It's the only way that you can begin to extract. Some people say that, that you actually need an exorcism to get all of this negativity and evil sets of actions that have been going on. If you don't believe you're on the side of the equation, then just make sure that you're voting to make sure that we have the individuals that are necessary to uphold the letter of the law.
Larry?
So, Roland, I believe in law and order. And, if you're not following the law, you should go to jail. Is that how the Republicans do it? Because this is a criminal enterprise we've been dealing with the last couple of years. Let's just call it what it is. And you're right, the efforts to overthrow the government. And so a few years ago, the last election cycle, we had insurrection attempt 1.0. And without a doubt, what you hear, and not just the Project 25 stuff in terms of Trump wins the election, but while we think these folks will be deterred, you can be assured there will be some kind of attempt 2.0 variation if Donald Trump doesn't win the election. Without a doubt, we're going to see it. We can see all the rhetoric we see from a lot of these right-wing governors, attorney generals, et cetera. So there's going to be some kind of attempt to circumvent the election if Biden wins. But you have to hold these folks accountable, because for years, all I heard is in terms of Black community and racial stereotypes for years. Now, so if you don't want to follow the law, you should go to jail and you should suffer the consequences, including losing your law license and anything else that goes at any jobs you may have, offers, opportunities you have should be gone. Because once again, if you believe in law and order, then that should be consistent, including upholding our democracy. So I look forward to, continue to follow these cases, like you said, this one, the one in Arizona, among others, and those individuals, facing the consequences for their own actions.
When COVID happened, poor people were dying at a rate already of 800 people a day. Before COVID, if you went to a funeral every single day, it would take you 600 years to attend all the funerals of the people who will die from the ravages of policy violence, poverty, and low wages in America in just 1 year. It would take you 2 years and 19 days to go to all of the funerals of the people that will die today, and oftentimes silence. Nobody talks about this political genocide, but we are determined today to remember their death and be a resurrection of voting power and voice power like never before.
Economic justice and saving this democracy are deeply connected. We, as a nation, must listen to the demands of the poor, who are pushing and will continue to push political candidates and elected leaders to lift from the bottom so that everybody can rise.
Take back the mic, take back the mic, take back the mic, take back the mic.
We are the poor, the marginalized, and the underpaid. And we are taking one step forward to say that everybody has a right to live.
Poverty is not the fault of those who are impoverished. It is caused by those who make the policy.
There are over 135 million poor and low-wage, low-income people in this nation.
The biggest block of potential voters by far is low-income, low-wage voters.
I can't afford medicine. Sometimes I have to skip because of the cost.
The farm worker community is tired of the violence imposed upon us by greed, exclusion, and denial of basic human rights.
Those folk that represented by that casket, poor and low-wage workers who are the most moral people in this country because they go to work every day believing, even though going to work is hazardous to their health.
I'm tired of working 70 to 80 hours a week and still not have money for the necessity of bills. I'm tired of getting sick and not being able to go see the doctor. Having to make a choice to pay between rent or the light bill or food or clothes.
You cannot claim to care about families and a culture of life and then do everything in your power to rob people of equal access to resources and to force them to live in poverty.
Leadership of both parties had waged war on poor people and low-wage workers.
And this government has treated people experiencing poverty, including their military families, with disdainful, deliberate, malicious neglect.
So the truth is that my son died from poverty.
We refuse to accept poverty as the fourth leading cause of death.
The fourth leading cause of death in this, the richest country in the world.
We march today for our children and the generations to come.
And we need to do it with the loudest voices possible, the biggest actions possible.
We will voice our demands and register our vote.
When we stand up and when we stand together, things change.
There is the electorate that is, and then there is the electorate that should be.
34 million eligible poor and low-income voters did not vote in 2016. If just 20% of those voters in swing states were mobilized around an agenda, they could change the political outcome of every election. So we're launching the most massive voter mobilization and turnout campaign in history of poor and low-wage voters, allies, and religious leaders.
People are dying, but we know it doesn't have to be this way. And so we are calling on everyone to join us in this Poor People's Campaign, a national call for more revival.
We are here, we will be seen, we will be heard, and our power will be felt. We don't need to be an insurrection. We are a resurrection that will be felt across this country. Are you ready? Ready, ready, ready. We are a resurrection, and we are ready.